everyone. Welcome to this live session from BNB Chain. We are very happy to have all our community here watching us. Remember that we are on Telegram, Instagram, and Facebook. You can follow us there to always be notified about these sessions. And today's session is a very special one. We have a few stars here, literally. So let me start introducing you guys. But first, for those that don't know me, I am Mary. I'm the community lead of BNB Chain. So I am tonight with the nice presence of Peter Rafelson, which is a winner, a Grammy winner producer. Also, Michael Zgarka, which is president and CEO of Hitlab, and Bjorn Niclas, which is the CEO and co-founder of Rocki. So welcome, guys. Also, feel free to introduce yourself and tell us more about your career and also your experience.
Thank you. Would you like me to start?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, since I'm on the upper corner. So my name is Bjorn Niclas. I'm the founder and CEO of Rocki.com. We are one of the leading music NFT marketplaces on BNB chain. We've been building on BNB chain for well over a year, and it's been going really, really great. We focus on music NFTs, creating new revenue streams for musicians, where they can easily mint and issue their songs as collectibles, and also music streaming on the blockchain. I come from a pretty long background in the music industry, over 15 years. Worked in artist management, mainly managing some big DJs. I've been exposed to the world of publishing, record labels, event production, all the ins and outs of the music industry. And I realized just how difficult it is for musicians to make it, and how you can make a musician famous, what it involves, etc. So I've been fascinating in the last 6-7 years by building consumer-facing technology platforms to help better empower musicians to get ahead in the music industry. So thank you for having us today. Great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Michael, Peter, who wants to go first?
Peter, you're on mute.
Yes.
Do you see the mute button, the lower left
Yes.
corner? There we go.
Over there.
Michel, why don't you go next?
Okay. So I'm Michel Zarka. I'm the president and CEO of Hitlab. Hitlab primarily is a tech company in the AI world to analyze hit potential of songs as well as quality of a voice. We've been around since 2007. A little too early for people in the industry to understand that AI was something they could use as a service. So we evolved, and now we are a group of companies. Basically, the core is the AI, our own technology that we created, plus record label, publishing, NFT and crypto in partnership with Rocki, as well as metaverse and many other areas in which we're evolving. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you. So I'm Peter Rafelson. I've been actually writing and producing hit songs since I was a teenager. Probably the most famous song is "Open Your Heart," which Madonna recorded among many other artists. But I growing up, I was dyslexic, and I always used technology to try to make up for ways to learn and function and to innovate. And between music and technology, I was able to really get an advantage in the convergence of media, computers, science, and art. And that took me through a long journey of building studios and developing more tech. And I was able to create an independent career, which was very unusual, especially in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, that there was no such thing as the indie business. And the luxury of being independent meant that I could control my own rights to the music that was being played on the radio and being number one. But then, careful what you wish for. You have to face and learn how to manage those rights. So I became a businessman, and I started a publishing company and a label and distribution and management and studios. And it just all became more and more complicated and more challenging. So as a result, eventually, thank God, where we are today, the independent artist now has an ability to work with Hitlab and Rocki and find paths and access to an industry that never existed before. So I'm grateful. I think we may have lost our hostess. I don't hear you guys.
Are we still on?
I don't know.
Yeah, but still on. Peter, your sound is a little bit strange. Do you have like a headset you could use potentially, like one of these things you can plug in?
Yeah.
With some weird static. Michel, why don't you continue? And I'm sure she will jump off in a few minutes again. She probably had to fix something on her computer.
All right.
But we are still live. Michel, do you want to go next?
Yeah, okay. So I'll explain a bit about our technology. Hitlab created two different AI-powered technologies. One called DNA for digital nuance analysis, which is a technology that analyzes hit potential. Basically, it was found by different universities and anyone in the sound engineering that all songs are made up of the same 84 mathematical parameters. So what we have done is create algorithms that are used to actually break down any song, any language, any musical genre, and we can do that about 100,000 songs per hour. So over the last year, what we have done with several partners all over the world is create what is now called the Digital Emerging Artist Showcase. We started in Africa in partnership with Trace and Boomplay, and thus we're able to discover amazing talent stemming from that continent. We went on to do the same thing in Latin America, again, and with several partnership, including Warner Chappell and others. And we just launched 2 weeks ago the same thing in India and all of the neighboring countries. By the end of 2022, our Digital Emerging Artists Showcase, the DAS, will have been used all over the world. From that, we found artists that were totally amazing, but had absolutely no label deals, no publishers, no distribution. Thus, we created our own labels, and our labels are now distributed worldwide, either through Virgin Music Services, part of Universal, or through Warner Music. We do the same thing for publishing, and there again, we did it with CSAC and Mint worldwide, excluding the US. All of that we always do in partnership or under the advisory of some of our key members, such as Peter and Bjorn. So over to you, Peter.
Awesome. How's my sound? Is that any better?
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
we
a
had
little
a few
bit better.
issues. It's a live stream, so these things happens. So yeah, Peter, could you introduce again yourself, please?
Sure. I was just telling you that my name is Peter Rafelson, that I've been a writer and a producer of hit songs for many years, and I started out very young before there was an independent music business, and the path for me really was forged by my love of technology.
Peter,
and
excuse me. We hear you again with this distortion. Could you please rejoin the conversation?
Sure.
I'm
Yeah,
so sorry, but these things happens. It's a live space.
just leave the studio and then click on the link to come back in.
Exactly. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Peter comes back. Let's start speaking a bit about the topic of today, which is how is the blockchain disrupting the music industry, which is known by being complicated, hard. Not many people make it, and blockchain is definitely improving the transparency and the accessibility of several spaces. So starting with the first question, we know that the regular music industry has always difficulties on tracking down the royalties to the rights holders and the songwriters, often leaving money on the table that belongs to them. So, how can blockchain technology solve this problem?
I can answer this one, I think, and it's more of a general. Traditionally, there's a lot of right holders and songwriters and artists, musicians involved in revenue rights for a song. And due to the complicated system that were set up in the days of jukeboxes and sheet music, it's sometimes very difficult to know who owns what. There's a lot of mystery where some of these revenue end up. I call it a gray box. So there could be a lot of money left on the table that doesn't necessarily get to the people who are owed to. So I think with blockchain technology using smart contracts, which we all know provides transparency, security, and accountability, I think it's a really great use case for tracking revenue sources. For example, we know that we can't fake smart contracts and fake the records on the blockchain, and also the transparency aspect is very important. I've seen so many statements from Spotify and Apple Music, etc., where it's really difficult to understand if this money is correct that's owed to me, or I'm just getting some number. I'm not going to hire a forensic accountant to do an audit of Spotify to make sure that my stream payout is correct. So I think by using blockchain technology, which of course we use at Rocki, we can provide more of a transparent solution that is open for everyone to see. It's also, of course, instant. It doesn't take a half a year to a year for you to get a royalty statement. It happens instantly. It's secured by the blockchain. It is impossible that it's wrong. So I think we can see a lot of improvements there on the market where smart contracts can be used for tracking royalties. And I know, Peter has a big interest in this as well. He's had much more experience in collecting royalties or waiting for royalties or not getting royalties for probably songs that he has been a part of his whole life. So maybe Peter can also chime in on the old model versus the new model.
How's my sound?
Much better.
Definitely better.
Yeah, thanks for doing that,
Amazing.
Peter.
So, yeah, guys, I was just saying that when I started out in this industry, there was no other path than to deal with majors and the traditional way of being signed and finding a career. Technology allowed me to do things on my own that became very profitable. The only problem was there was no independent music business to function in. So I had to really invent and figure this all out on my own. And then, worse than that, to try to manage everything that you create and to get paid for it and to collect your money was just a nightmare, impossible. And it hasn't improved that much, honestly. You still, depend on so many other people and agencies and bureaucracy just to get a penny from this industry. Well, the blockchain definitely has changed and improved that. And most of all, I want to, for the listeners who don't appreciate what an opportunity this is, companies like Rocki and like Hitlab, who are dealing directly with tools that empower artists to not only create, to be discovered, to be promoted, to be marketed, but also to have a direct relationship with the fans, both artistically, creatively, and financially. This is a huge difference that nobody can appreciate more than old folks like me who've had to deal with every other way that preceded these innovations. So yes, Bjorn, you're 100% right. Just the idea that waiting 18 months for a song on the radio in Uganda to then be collected and be sent over to Australia, and from Australia to Japan, and another 6 months later from Japan to Europe, and then to the United States. Every time somebody spends 6 or 9 months holding your money, they also take another 15 or 20% out. By the time you get a royalty from Uganda, if you get it at all, you get about 15% of the total money you generated. And it's not because of greed, it's because the system doesn't exist to go direct. So that's where technology can help. And it just offers, obviously immediate, transparent, and simple accounting.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Jörg. But for those artists that are on an early stage, how we understand that for a very long time, and it's something very common, that being discovered by major record labels, it's very complicated. That the chances are really small. So how can AI and also blockchain assist here?
Well, that's a good question.
So
Yeah,
maybe,
that's a really game changer one.
Maybe
Well,
Michel can answer this one.
Yes.
This is the model of Hitlab. I mean, you really pinpointed it exactly. This Hitlab. So there. My father, who recently passed away, he created the monkeys, and he was an incredible innovator of not only television but discovering talent. He used to say, "There's no shortage of talent. There's just a shortage of people who can recognize talent." Well, let's fast forward to the point that everybody now has access with a phone to 400 million artists that are readily available on Boomplay, Spotify, Apple, the Amazon. Everybody has everything right here, but no human being can sift through and decipher all that content and all those voices and all those artists. HitLab can. In fact, it can listen to over 100,000 songs in an hour, and it can give you information that you're seeking. It won't say, "Hey, we found the new Michael Jackson," but if you can describe what you're looking for and limit and filter, it can find and deliver that information. It's a funnel. It's a funnel of information that still requires a human being to make a decision. Maybe someday it won't. Maybe someday all A&R people will be robots. But in the meantime, Michelle and I don't have enough years left in this life to listen to 1,000 demos a day. We just don't. So what do? We use HitLab to narrow down the choices. What are those choices? It's up to you to decide. Let's start with, I'd like to listen to voices that can sing in time. How about that for a start? I'd like to listen to voices that can sing in tune. How about that for a start? If you can cut out all the voices that are out of time and out of tune, you've saved 99% of the time of an A&R's job. Just that alone. Like, can we find a good singer before we decide who to sign? Can we limit it to good singers? Great. Thank you, Hitlab.
Nice. Well, it's
Yes.
really good to know that these tools are here now. So
Do you want to pitch in on that, Michel? I'm sure.
Yes. And I wanted to add to what Peter just said is that, and that goes back to your question, the artists that go through our system get an immediate knowledge of where they stand. Because, we, like Peter said, can analyze 100,000 songs per hour, but an artist who puts his song within a minute gets his score, and that first thing he does he gets a score. Then immediately thereafter, it goes through our full data, which is made up of songs that have made the top 30 on charts all over the world. So he knows where his own song sits vis-a-vis the DNA, or AI, but he also knows if there's songs that have equivalent scores that have made charts, regardless of the language or the country or the type of songs, and that he gets that within 1 minute. And further to that, we compile all those, create a playlist, and then with Peter, with Bjorn, then we have all those amazing songs which are on tune and everything, and we can then put them on our own radio show, which we do now, and all to the benefit of talent.
Mm.
Nice, nice. That's really nice. Speaking about platforms, Spotify is known to pay the 90% of their streaming revenues to only the 1% artists on there. So leaving that remaining 10% of revenue to be shared among 99, which is typically involved independent artists. So this pro rata payment model benefits mostly the top artists with millions of fans, and make it definitely harder for the small ones, as we are talking about. So how can the blockchain technology help here, and if so, how?
Yeah, this is a big question, but you're right. So on Spotify, the guys with really millions of fans makes the most money because they rack up the most stream play with that pro rata model. So Beyonce and Taylor Swift, who releases a new song, they have tens of millions of fans streaming it. So they take a really big chunk of the revenue that day or any other day. So when you have a smaller artist that maybe only have 10,000 fans or 5,000 fans, they can't compete to get any slices of that revenue. So I think with blockchain technology and crypto payments and NFTs and these direct artist to fans relationship, they're not competing in that old model. For example, if you have a new up and coming artist from Tennessee that only has 10,000 fans, how are they how are they ever gonna be able to compete with Taylor Swift and have that many stream plays generate revenue? They can't. But even if you have that little fans, if they are able to support you directly by, for example, purchasing a music NFT that is a collectible song, and that revenue goes straight to the artist, there's no people in the middle that will take their cut. There's a label and a publisher and a rights organizations. And I know, Peter, there are so many right organizations around the world. They're all taking some pieces of revenue to collect for you. If you're lucky, maybe you get some part of it, or maybe not. But here with blockchain technology, you can facilitate these direct artist to fan relationships where the money flows instantly to the musician. And when you look at it, you really don't need that many fans to support you to actually make some decent amount of money. They say that if you have 1,000 fans and they're able to give you $100 a year in supporting your music, which is, a couple of Starbucks coffee per month. So instead of you going to Starbucks 2 times per month, you're actually giving that money to your favorite musician by buying a collectible song, or even collectible music videos, for example. With that few fans, you can actually have a sustainable living from your music. So I think that's kind of where we can see a lot of advancement in blockchain technology. With Rocki, we use the Rocki token as payment for listening to streams. We are building in this feature called Listen to Earn, where music fans can earn the tokens for listening to sponsored music. But importantly, for us, the music NFTs has been really a really big business. Where, let's say, Michel is a musician, he issued a song as a collectible. There is only 50 pieces available. Each song is $10, so the price of a Starbucks coffee here in the US. So very, very quickly, Michel, for 50 collectible songs, he makes more money than his typical paycheck in a year from Spotify. So we are very excited about what blockchain can do for music, both as NFTs, streaming, royalty accounting, which we talked about before. There is no more mystery boxes. I'm sure, Peter, you probably looked at many statements and you wonder, like, what the hell are all these numbers? Am I getting paid correctly? Do I know I'm getting paid correctly?
The most frustrating part, and Bjorn is 100% right about this, is that the difference is that you have to seek out and ensure that you're getting paid every penny that you are owed. There's no safety mechanism to make sure you get your money. Nobody is guaranteeing you to get paid. They're guaranteeing that your money exists. They're guaranteeing that they collect your money, but it's up to you to make sure that you get your money. This is a huge difference. There is such thing, it's actually called a black box. And all monies that go uncollected remain in the black box for no more than 24 months. After that, you can't get it. It's gone forever. Even
Wow.
if you realized after the fact, oh, I am now realizing that I had a song in a movie and it was collected. And I'll give you a great example. I did a commercial for the NFL football. It was leading up to Super Bowl. And I did all the original music. I did the voice. I did the sound effects. I created all the audio. And I did it as what I thought was called work for hire. But there was no terms in the agreement that said that I had to hand over the music rights. And it dawned on me afterwards, a year and a half afterwards, I was like, wait a second. Nobody has collected this money. And I registered it and I could see that it existed. And technically, it was in my name as the composer, writer, artist. So I contacted ASCAP, and there was some rule that said that if you don't register the cue sheets for a commercial on a major network within X amount of months, it's gone. And I just realized, oh my God, I had one of the most popular commercials on television, and the money was generated, and I couldn't capture it, couldn't get it. So
Wow.
that's just one example, and this is for somebody who's savvy about business. Imagine all the millions of people who don't even realize that it's upon them to chase and collect and understand, and the regulations and the rules, and nobody wants to be anybody who wants to be a musician, the last thing they want to do is be an accountant. So yeah, that's the state of the world today. So
Oh,
hopefully we're gonna solve this.
Yeah, definitely. We have the NFTs and all these tools to solve these issues. Before jumping into the next question, to the people who's watching us on YouTube, on Twitter, we are reading your questions and we are going to answer a few of them at the end. So keep asking because I have them here. And yeah, let's jump into the next question, which is something that might seem obvious for us, but for some people it's not, because we know NFTs mostly by images. But when we tell people that, yeah, NFTs can also be any other type of document or song, etc., it's confusing. So how does it actually happen? How can music and songs be sold as NFTs?
Um, I want to hear Bjorn's answer to this, but I'd like to add to that as
yeah, and I know you have a lot of some really good feedback on this,
yeah.
but typically we have seen a big explosion on NFTs these last few years, but it's typically been in collectible, profile board apes and CryptoPunks, but also of course crypto art, which kind of led the revolution, collectible crypto art, and also of course visual animations. But now we're seeing some really cool applications to NFTs, whether that's ticketing, which will prevent scalping of tickets and fraudulent tickets as well, which I'm really excited about. But for us, we looked at the NFTs as how could we issue songs as collectibles? Spotify has a great all-you-can-eat buffet of free music at your fingertips 24/7. They've done a great job making a huge database of free music, pretty much. And we can find any song from any artist and just press play, whether we pay for it or not. Uh, while it's great for us consumers, it's not very great for the artists in terms of creating financial value. So how do you fix that? Well, one answer could be scarcity, that a new song of Peter is not available for everyone. Not millions of people can hear it, but only 50 people can hear it. And these are 50 people that are true fans of Peter. So he can decide and use Rocki to mint that song as a collectible. And Rocki works as the player. So while he is buying the NFT asset, maybe that song is $10 or $20 or $5. The fans then owns an exclusive NFT to be able to enjoy that song as an NFT. It lives in their wallet. The wallet is connected to Rocki. Rocki works as the player, so you can add the song to a playlist. You can enjoy it, etc. And maybe a year or two from now, Peter is already mega famous, so this is the kind of a bad comparison. But let's just say Peter was a regular music producer up and coming, but he writes a hit record, or he becomes famous, or he gets signed by a big record label. And now the NFT asset song that I bought from him 2 years ago for $5, now the market value for that song is $200, because there's fans all around the world that don't have access to hear that song. He has songs on Spotify, he has songs on YouTube, but this particular song that was only issued as an NFT, there's only 50 copies available and nobody is selling because everybody is enjoying it. So now there's a potential for a music fan to put that on the secondary marketplace. And if they want, hopefully sell it for a profit. And what's cool about that, if somebody bought it, if I bought it for $5 and I'm selling it for 200, there's a 10% kickback that always goes back to Peter, the artist, every time that music NFT changes hands. So that's basically perpetual income that can come when these music assets are, trading hands on the secondary marketplace. So it's just a whole new way of artists earning revenue by issuing songs as collectibles. They're not available for free elsewhere. If you really want to enjoy and support Peter's career in this case, Peter's obviously very, very famous, so this is kind of a bad example, but I'm just using him as a name. The money goes directly to Peter. I have an exclusive asset, which is the song. And of course, there is a potential of trading that NFT asset in the future for hopefully a profit. So I know, Peter, you have also dabbled into NFTs yourself, and trying different platforms. And I know you have kind of an issue also with, copyright infringement on the marketplace. Maybe you can add a few cents about that.
Thank you, Bjorn. Yes. So I think that there is always a barrier to understanding new technology and what it actually is. And there's a lot of talk about NFTs. But for those listening, I would like to try to simplify this as much as possible. Think of an NFT as nothing more than a box and a delivery service. And you can put anything inside that box. If you buy a car, you basically need two things in a box. You need the keys and the pink slip, the registration, and the access to the engine to turn it on. Those can go in a box and you can FedEx them to somebody. And as long as their name is registered, they now are the owner and they possess the two items that are required to legally own and drive that car. Whether you have the car or not, you can still be the owner of the car as long as you have those two items. That's what an NFT is. It is a container that can provide rights, access, provenance, ownership, possession. These are the keys to a car, or in this case, to an asset, a digital asset. Well, once a smart contract or some sort of terms of use are created, it's very hard to change those. But in the music industry, these terms change constantly. One day, BMG is my publisher. Another day, I get it back. The day after, I assign it to Warner's or to Hitlab or to Bjorn. So it's very difficult for the actual container to keep up with the real world. Well, what I'm doing is providing Rocki and Hitlab the use of DigiRamp, which is the company that stands for Digital Rights and Asset Management Platform, to connect the real world terms and contracts with the NFTs. Now, most people who are just beginning in the industry don't have a lot of other stuff to manage. They don't have contracts. They don't have a publisher. They don't have a label. They don't have a manager. They don't have band members. They don't have an LLC, all these. But for anybody who's already in this industry, they don't know how to deal with it. How can we deal with it if it's just a simple one-to-one when there's 25 stakeholders in an asset or a song or a label or a band as such? So we're taking what Bjorn is doing and connecting it to the real world chain, if you will. So there's off-chain and on-chain. And that's what DigiRamp does. We are the agency of record that connects off-chain to on-chain assets. This way, any NFT that connects back to DigiRamp, all you have to do is go onto DigiRamp, change the stakeholders, change the splits, change the names of the recipients. The NFT still functions and everybody gets paid, and old school and new school get to work together. So thank you.
It's amazing to see it that way. I think I'm going to start using your example of the car and the keys to explain NFTs, because you have to make it easier for everyone, which is what's happening right now. For example, Instagram is now allowing people to upload their NFTs directly there. Maybe in the near future we will see other music platforms doing it. So I believe that this is the key of mass adoption, in a personal opinion. So it's just amazing. We have a few questions from the community, and one of that question is actually about the one that I was about to ask you. So the thing is that how is people making money with NFTs compared to the traditional industry? But Liliana Goncalves on the comments is asking if this is being really profitable for the creators, because on the sports industry is another story. So what do you think?
Well, I mean, this is kind of what we talked about before.
Yes.
1% of the artists gets 90% of the revenue in Spotify. So Taylor Swift and Beyonce and Jay-Z, they're not complaining. They live in multi-million-dollar mansions and Ferraris and Bentleys and yachts and villas. But if you're at 99%, right, the typical payout from Spotify in a year, there was a report by a big rights organizations for musicians in England that concluded that 85% of the musicians make 200 pounds, British pounds, a year on average, so around $200 or so. So with music NFTs, since you're selling it directly to your fans, it doesn't really take a lot of sales to reach 200. It's only 20 copies at $10. So do you have 20 fans around the world that will give up the price of a Starbucks coffee at one time in order to buy your collectible song? Of course you do. Most people do it. And maybe that's your neighbor, maybe that's your mom or your brother, or a friend at the gym or a friend at your work. But very, very quickly, you can make $200 just by selling a few copies. So that's just, of course, the very easy way. But it also shows you that it takes very, very few people, very, very few fans of yours to give you more money than your entire yearly paycheck from Spotify by simply issuing one song as collectibles, selling 20, 30, 50 copies. So maybe in a year you are doing 4, 5, 6 music NFTs, and each are bringing in anywhere from $50 to a couple of $100. You are already making 4 or 5 times much money than the traditional kind of online streaming industry that we have. So I think anyone who's looking at, oh, how do I get started? How can I make money? Just sit down and think. Listen, do I have 50 fans that will support me, or do I have 100 fans that will support me? Or maybe I'm just starting out. Do I have 20 or 15 friends and family and relatives and coworkers that will support my career with $5 or $10, and boom, all of a sudden you're doubling the amount of money that you typically make from Spotify in a year. So,
Add
you want to chime in? Yeah.
add the fact that Hitlab will be listening to the Rocki playlists, and now you have an opportunity to not just make it a living, but to be discovered. And Hitlab can then recommend your name, your artist, your career, your music, your songs to all the other platforms where you do have a chance to get into that 1%. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because the platforms themselves, all they are analyzing is what users are already doing on their platform. They're not analyzing the potential for what users want or where to find it. They can recommend and they can see tremendous data. Hey, if I'm 6 feet tall and I'm a male and I live in Africa and I'm, listening to Peter Gabriel, then somebody else who's listening to Peter Gabriel and similar, and they can compare and suggest. But Hitlab is looking at millions of songs and comparing them to one song. You can't do that any other way. And if Hitlab is listening to you on Rocki and telling Spotify, hey, this artist and this song have potential to be in the top 1%, they're going to pay much closer attention. In fact, there's already, I don't know if I can talk about it, there's already a few platforms that are using Hitlab to help create playlists and to help discover who can be most appealing to their audiences. So the technology is fast tracking the winners, and they're not winning because of anything other than what they do. It's not because they're spending money. It's not because they have relationships, because they have access. This is the old world. Hey, I knew the head of the radio station and he's playing my daughter's song because I paid him $500. That's payola. That
Yeah.
was the old way of getting promotion and being discovered. It was also illegal. For good or bad, it's changed. Hitlab is the new discovery engine, and Rocki's the new platform for new artists. So it's very connected. It's why we're all friends.
Yeah, that's right. And just to add to that really quickly, Rocki has a partnership with Hitlab, and right now we're in the process of building in the Hitlab DNA, AI technology on the platform. So when musicians are uploading their songs to Rocki, whether that's on the streaming engine or to issue as NFT, it automatically scans to get the Hitlab score. So, for example, if Bjorn, the artist, I've spent a year writing my song. Now I'm ready to upload it. When I upload it, I immediately get my Hitlab score to tell me how good my song is compared to data points collected over, was it 30 years, Michel, or 20 years of Billboard #1 hits and other
Yeah,
charts around the world?
it's whatever you choose. They've got all the data, but if you
Yeah.
wanted to compare it to, say, 1977 through 1979 in the South of America, based on R&B charts, Like
Yeah,
you can be as specific
yeah.
or broad as you want.
I mean, how incredible is that? So if I'm making country music, I want to compare my songs to country music hits. So
Yes.
then let's say, for example, today I upload a song and my Hitlab score is only 20 out of 100. I know, oh, you know what? I need to go back to the studio to improve and then learn how to compose a bit better. But maybe 5, 6 months later, that Hitlab score is 90 or 92. And then all of a sudden, I get a call from Michel. Hey, your song is doing really great. We would love to work with you. Hitlab is a conglomerate of companies. We can offer publishing. We can sign you into a record deal and offer distribution through Universal Music or Warner, depending on the territory. Give you the backing to help you launch your career. That's something that would never happen. And I might just, maybe I'm sitting in my parents' basement in Berlin, and I have no access of getting my song listened to by some famous A&R at Universal, which will never happen. But now, because of data and AI, I have been discovered. And not only that, I have the potential of making it as a star because my song scored a 92. I get a call from Michel and the Hitlab people that have seen that my song was charting, was having a high score. Now we can work, or Hitlab can work with that artist to provide additional services to help their music career and hopefully build an artist. So it's really, really cool to see how not only blockchain technology can help here, but artificial intelligence.
Yes.
Yeah, we also are able to analyze the crossover potential into not only different musical genres, but also different languages. Since our AI will analyze songs in any languages. So I have one of your listener asked, how is Hitlab judging? Well, we don't judge music. We analyze it for its hit potential. We don't say, you're good or you're bad. We don't tag. We don't do any of those things. It's purely mathematical.
And
Songs.
what is the formula for the
Well,
success for the hit?
it's not really a formula. You see, when we created our algorithms, we work with numerous universities all over the world and our own tech team. So we gave each one of them the same job. What our songs made up of. They all came back to us without talking to one another. That every song is made up of 84 mathematical parameters. So when a song is uploaded into our system, it immediately is analyzed against the 84 parameters. What I give always as a comparison, same thing Peter did about a car. You go to your doctor will ask you to have tests if you have diabetes, cholesterol, or like 2 or 3 items in your own DNA. We don't say, just check 1 or 2. We check against the 84 elements that make up a song. So that's the formula, like you put it, and it works all the time because there's no personal appreciation of the artist. The human will do that. So we narrow down from millions of songs for an A&R into what is capacity of actually listening, maybe 8 to 10 songs a day. We bring him the best 8 to 10 songs according to what he's looking at. And Peter gives us all the advice how to work properly with a songwriter, the producer, the talent. Peter is a member of our board, and Bjorn is a member of our advisory board. This way, we're always and continuously connected to the industry at large. We're not strictly.
I can tell you that from a strictly human perspective, Michel provided me with analysis on a very large company. I won't say who it is, but they analyzed, I think it was 750 songs through Hitlab. They scanned them, and the top 750 came back, and I started playing the top 10. And at first I was not surprised at all. Oh, Ed Sheeran, of course it's going to be in the top 10. Rihanna, Justin Bieber. And then came number 4, never heard of the band or the song. And I kept reading down the list. Oh, the famous number 8. Wait a second. I never heard the name of the song or the band. So out of curiosity, I knew these others. There were billions of streams on these other names, and those songs would compare to the top 10 because they are in the top 10. But number 4 and number 8, I went and listened to on YouTube, and there were just a few 100,000 streams. It was not very popular. I never heard of it. And the moment I clicked play, I was blown away. Oh my God, this is so amazing. I don't know how I would have ever come across this or discovered these groups, but I can tell you that if they hadn't been signed already, I would have signed them in a heartbeat, instantly. It found
That's so cool.
two artists that were, I mean, the songs were so great. And it was like the perfect use case where they were right in the middle of this list of the most famous people in the world and completely unknown. Hitlab found those records.
Well, that's simply amazing. It's basically the power of blockchain solutions in this industry. So, if those artists that are out there waiting to be discovered are listening and watching this space, what will be your advices to them to start using the blockchain in favor?
Sign up for Rocki.
Yeah,
Yeah.
first step. Now you know, guys.
and we'll be listening, and we'll be scouting you. Now, the only advice I have is there are no rules, but the one thing that anybody, and this is true pretty much of any industry, but I'll talk about it a bit. If you are passionate and you believe in what you're doing, don't let anybody else tell you or discourage you. The definition of insanity clinically is to do the same thing every day over and over and expect the results to be different. That means that to be in the music industry, you have to be insane, because it's what we all do. We sit and write and make music every day, and we expect something's going to be different. I'm going to have a hit. I'm going to be discovered. I'm going to get a break. So by definition, to be a artist, you almost have to be a little insane. And guess what? Crazy leads to success if you are passionate, committed, and you follow that path unrelenting. The dream is alive, and it's your dream. That means your passion, your choice, nobody else's. And the technology is just a great tool to help you follow your dreams.
That's awesome.
What do you think, guys? Michel, Bjorn. Oh, you're muted.
There
Yes.
we go.
Hear the question.
Yeah, what would be your advice for people, for musicians, for artists to start joining these new technologies?
Well, the easiest is that they ingest their songs into our system, and within
Well,
a minute they'll get their hit potential scores.
okay, nice. We have one last question to complement this, and it is, what do you offer for those who are not singers? Example, traders, investors.
Maybe that's more of a question for us. So obviously, Rocki is a platform built by musicians for musicians. Our core business is providing more revenue sources and opportunities for musicians. But obviously, we also have a token, the Rocki token, which is liquid in the market, and of course, we are building in I mean, we already have features on the platform such as staking for artists, Web3, DeFi, where speculators and investors in the market can stake their tokens on Rocki, which means, for those of you who don't know, you're tying up your Rocki tokens for a certain amount of time, and if you do so, you are paid pretty much interest. What's cool about this feature, we call it staking for artists, is you are able to share that staking rewards with your favorite musicians. So let's say, Peter is staking Rocki tokens on Rocki, and he's earned, let's just say a number, 100 tokens as a reward for doing so, APR, interest payment. He can then choose to automatically share 50% of those staking rewards from Rocki with Michel, because Michel is his favorite musician on Rocki, and he knows, you know what, I want to help Michel. I want him to have a little benefit of me with my tokens on the market. So now you have a musician like Michel who is working hard in the studio, but he's automatically earning tokens by Peter, the fan, who is helping his career by sharing those token rewards, which I think is a really cool way. It's a whole new revenue stream, a passive revenue stream where you just need a few fans supporting you, and you can basically earn, tokens for free by just having people believing your music and using new blockchain technology to do so. I mean, we never had something like that in the industry before, where musicians can sit around earning passive incomes by fans who are basically using DeFi products to earn more tokens. So we're actually super excited about that. And I think we are in our fourth or fifth staking cycle, which is paid out. I think it's typically between 40 to 50% in APR. So it's a great way for investors, speculators, and people who want to support their musicians by using these tools to put more money in the hands of musicians.
I think the key to what Bjorn is saying is that there's new value in being part of a community. This is something that always existed in human nature, but was very hard to organize unless you were in the same location. Tribalism is based on value in community. We band together, we're a clan, we're a tribe, we're a gang, but we protect each other, we share, we eat, we kill, we hunt, whatever that was. Now, through blockchain, these communities, which bring value to their members, is global and accessible from anywhere, anytime. That is such a paradigm shift in the world today, that the four of us right now are now part of a community, and none of us are in the same city or the same country, and yet look, here we are becoming friends, and I can take my tokens and take you out to dinner, or give you a coffee, or give you a tip, or share, or we can start a business, or we can start a wallet together. The variations and choices are infinite, but they're now possible because we can share in our community and be co-members of that group.
Nice.
My
Thank you. Yes.
Sorry, my answers would be slightly different because the question from one of the listeners says, "What do you offer to traders and investors?" In our case, Hitlab, we're a company which is right now a pre-IPO. So investors who want to be part of everything we've been discussing should definitely invest now in our companies and be there for the long haul, because we are definitely the next generation of what the music industry and any industry that uses music needs. So, I'm wearing my typical corporate hat, and that probably answers more what your listener Liliana is asking. What do we offer for traders and investors? We've all explained what we investors to musicians and singers. Now, what we offer to the financial community is, possibility of being there with us now and making quite substantial gains, which would benefit the overall industry, especially for the musicians.
I would like to invest, Michel, before you list on Nasdaq. give me a call afterwards, please.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for sharing all this information with us. Also, thank you to the BNB community for joining the live stream and watching us. Remember that these spaces are constantly happening and that we also have regional communities. So if there's people here listening who speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, French, any language, search for your community and share this information with the people there, because they're always discussing important topics, and I know that music is going to be for sure one of the top topics soon in these communities. If you have people in your companies that speak, for example, Spanish or other languages, our local communities, we are open to translate this information, because it's definitely something that is a global matter. So thank you so much. Thank you to everybody listening there, and have a nice